I'm not indulging in any kind of a blame game when I point out that the scale of galamsey activity escalated in the last 8 years. That's just a fact. Let's face it. The scale of pollution of water bodies, the scale of destruction of forests, the scale of cocoa found being turned over to illegal mining activity escalated. People in the cocoa sector, reference this as part of the reason why Ghana's cocoa production dropped dramatically in the last couple of years. These are facts.
So this is what.
Let me be clear that I've not even begun to blame anybody yet. Of course, if there's blame to be, allotted to people, it has to be allotted. But I hadn't begun yet. All I had started talking about was the escalation. And it is that escalation which has led to the proliferation, for instance, of arms that you talk about. In the past, in times when people were doing small-scale mining in Akwete and so on, they didn't have the scale of arms, the sophistication. So you must be the first to recognize when one is talking about an escalation, that's where we are now. It's an escalated situation, and therefore, it is now a matter of national security. That's where we are now. And
we'll go into that bit about the declaration of a state of national security or declaring areas that are infested with illegal mining as national security zones. But I wanted to come to you very briefly, Mr. Ayikoi Otoo, because the data shows that since 2017, over 2,000 mining and related licenses have been released. In addition to that, when you're talking about data in terms of times, it says in February 2017 to December 2018, only 7 licenses issued in 2017 and none in 2018. Now, after the ban was lifted, the number of licenses small-scale miners increased with over 900 licenses awarded by December 2018.
Why did we have to place a ban? What was happening before a ban was placed?
The question is about the licenses, not the ban.
I'm asking you, why was a ban placed? Didn't you situate it within that? That was after the ban was lifted, that more licenses were given. I'm asking you, didn't we have a problem that we were solving by placing a ban?
Yes, there was a problem.
And I'm saying, why are we talking about this escalation business when we have a bad situation, then we went to West and the West?
No, so that...
It already bad. There was something wrong. The waters are turned brownish and poisonous already.
So the import of the question is, knowing that it was already bad, did we have to issue more licenses for illegal mining to go on?
This is the thing that you do here which creates problems for TV3. You see, you are now behaving as if you have taken a position that by all means there was an escalation during the time of the
Ms. Ayikoi Otoo, that's not the point.
That's why I'm coming out clearly to tell you that when you do these things, that is when you create problems for yourself.
That is not the point.
We have argued, he has brought his point, I have answered him. You have taken it back and you are insisting that the escalation took place. I'm telling you, bad West. There was something the matter already which was happening in this country. And you cannot run away from that. That it is true.
That is a
that
fact.
There was galamsey. Why are you interested in insisting that it got bad only during the time of NDC?
That is not the point.
What will you gain by doing that?
That is not the point.
How are we going to fight galamsey?
If you would kindly hear me out.
If you want us to come and be part of your program.
Ms. Ayikoi Otoo, if you would kindly hear me out, the point is not to, I think we've moved on from the bit about escalation. I was only saying...
You have gone back to say the same thing, to show the number of licenses that were given.
I was only giving you data.
After the ban was lifted, who imposed the ban? Who imposed the ban?
It was the
what
government
was the ban for? Was it no MPP who was doing that?
It was to deal with the problem.
Let us discuss this matter and stop this escalation business.
I would move on, but the point I'm trying to make is that I wasn't insisting on escalation of the case. I was only giving you data based on what I said earlier, although we have moved on. But I want us to move on to the legal bit, because again, the question is that we have a lot of, legal frameworks that are supposed to be protecting our environment. If you look at the Act 703, which I mentioned earlier, when you look at even at the 2016 one, a number of them that will not be able to have time to go through. Mr. Tsikata, that's why I'm coming back to you as a lawyer as well. People argue that it is not necessarily about the laws we have, because when it comes to the laws, we have perhaps adequate to protect our environment from degradation and destruction. No, but it is the fact that perhaps the law is overrated, because the law in itself, without action, cannot help solve the problem.
No, I would agree.
How do you?
I would agree with that, and I think, you know, a lot of the time, people talk as if once you make some legal adjustments here and there, once you declare a state of emergency or whatever, you'll solve the problem. That's far from the case, and I would completely agree that. I mean, we shouldn't focus just on laws. We should focus on the nature of the problem. And in my view, I mean, that's where vested interests come. You see, if you have a lot of people who feel that there is value in something and who are going after it by hook or by crook, they will try to protect the position that they're in every way possible. So that makes it more difficult for the enforcement action. I mean, we lost a whole military major, you know, because the military were put to work in relation to a situation involving illegal mining. Now, so we can't run away from the fact that you have these vested interests. And if we are not willing to assess the graduation of vested interests from one period to another, I mean, and it's not just about political parties in power that we should be interested in, but even if we talk about it in terms of periods, we have to identify the way these vested interests protect their positions, which makes it more difficult to enforce. So enforcement is a problem. And it becomes more problematic when you have these vested interests very, you know, sort of entrenched in powerful positions.
We have to identify the source of the vested interest. I know you've been monitoring the situation as well, and I'll come back to you very shortly, Mr. Ayikoi Otoo. What have you yourself identified, which is why we are where we are?
Well, I mean, it's quite clear to me. When you look at the award of licenses, which Mr. Ayikoi Otoo doesn't want you to talk about, the reality is that a lot of licenses were awarded to, you know, people who were closely connected with those in power, those who had the opportunity, those who had the authority to grant licenses. That's the reality. I mean, we can't run away from it.
Mr. Ayikoi Otoo, how do you respond to that question about the fact that the law in itself cannot deal with the problems that we have? I've just gone through some of the acts that we've had. Some of them amended 2016 and all of that. And so how do we combine action with the law to ensure that we deal with the problem as we should?
Well, clearly, you know it's a political will. You know, people were talking plenty during the campaign. They were campaigning in prose only to come and rule in poetry. And they've now been giving us reasons why certain things ought not to be done. I followed them closely, and I was satisfied that they had no plans to fight galamsey. In 2020, when the MPP was fighting galamsey, there was a leader who said, even if they jail you, we will come and release you. We lost in all the galamsey constituencies.
You're referring to former President John Mahama?
Yes. And then I recall also seeing some group of galamseyers going to buy pickups to give to a party to do their campaign.
Which party was that?
You are in the media, so find out. So what I'm saying is that in this time round too, I followed carefully. And what our current president used to say is that we've got to balance the jobs with environmental degradation. The people are there who are looking for their daily bread. We cannot just stop them. So I knew that nothing was going to happen when they take over. You have sound bites of leading figures in the NDC who were shouting about repealing a certain LI. They have come.
I just mentioned it, LI 2462.
They are now talking about amending it. So for me, I am satisfied. And that's why I'm telling you, stop this blame game and saying that
I don't think what I did was a blame game. And we've moved on from that, Mr. Ayikoi Otoo.
But it's been a problem all over. All over. And those who were shouting at the top of their voices, declare a state of emergency, repeal LI, so and so, they are now in office. They haven't done that. Will you want to talk about it? Would you want to talk about those things?
Yes, we should.
Oh.